Hi there, my name's Cindy Davis. I'm the content director for AV Technology. And I'd like to welcome my pal, Joe A., who graciously agreed to write an article for me, which turned into a dissertation, which for those of you who know Joe won't be too surprised, about creating an AVIT RFP for higher technology managers. So thanks, Joe.
Hey, thank you so much, Cindy, for talking to me and giving me this opportunity to kind of share some insights that I've learned over a couple of processes now.
Well, you know what? When I found out that you were writing an RFP and going through that whole process, like, you have to document this for me. And I knew, I jumped on you like as soon as I knew that you started it, which was how long ago?
We started the process, it was kind of at the beginning of the year. So kind of around January, February, we looked into kind of how we're going to upgrade our technologies across campus, and really very blessed to be, for those who don't know me, I am the Executive Director of Digital Spaces at UCLA. So that was part of our campus upgrade project, and also co-founder of HETMA. And so looking at this, having done these for many, many years at my various institutions, I was blessed to be able to come here and have this formal process that we do as through the state. And I really learned a lot, and we took this from a different point of view compared to a lot of schools. To be honest, you don't always take the RFP process seriously. And we have a procurement department that really made us take every step to make sure that this went well, to where we got the best product in the end. But also we made sure it was most fair and for everyone participating, from those who, us sending it out as an institution, but also, the bidders on it. And so there were a lot of takeaways that I just think can really help our vertical and help our industry. And it's why I wanted to document it and to say that nothing I'm putting here is me saying anything for UCLA. It has nothing to do with how everything went, but probably more just best practices that I've learned over time and were really just established through this last process.
Yeah, and great. Thank you so much for doing that, because I've heard, as I've interviewed people for a couple of decades now, that a lot of folks will put an RFP out just because they have to.
Yeah.
And they kind of like rubber stamp it. But you're saying that is absolutely not what you did here.
Absolutely not. And, and I'll be honest, I hear this all the time, both from, customers that go, oh, I already know who I'm going to use, but I have to do it to make it, quote unquote, look fair or whatever. And then the problem is, too, you also hear it from manufacturers, you hear it from integrators and go, well, I already know who they're going to use, so I don't even know why we're going to take the time to respond to this, right? Or vice versa, I already know I have it won, et cetera, et cetera. And I've seen that, and it saddens me, because I see the RFP process as an opportunity and not just, some red tape that we have to go through. What we've done here at the school, and even at my previous school at USC, where I was brought there to bring technologies up, and we treated it the same way. And we said, you know what, we're going through a process. What if we can put out there and we can put the standards that we're looking for, and let's throw it out to the world. We are a public institution, so let's literally throw it out to the world. Let's throw it to the public and say, here's the standards that we're deciding that we want and we want to bring into it. And let's let everyone come to the table. And I think it's really a great aspect to take, an opportunity to take. And especially as a little fun fact, as people kind of go through the articles, I actually recused myself from the process, which I think is how I was able to really look at this differently. I didn't have any say in any voting or anything other than to kind of guide and be there as, an oversight, right? And to look at it from the outside. And just a side note, why would I recuse myself? I'll answer that because I know it's going to go. It's because I have a team. I sit in a different position now, and I have a team that's going to be handling, the day to day. So do I actually care what they put in? Because I'm not. No, I don't. Because they're the ones who have to support it, right? And so that gave me just a different perspective being on the outside, which is why I can, kind of share about this, because I didn't have anything to do with it, right? Whatever I tell you, y'all do it. Doesn't mean you get all the work, but these are things that I think, as I saw things that were really backed up through the process, but also backed up through all of the times I've done this through my life. It just started, a few things stuck out, and sometimes you have to step out from the process in order to see those, right? When you're in it, you don't get the same perspective. And that's why I just thought, there's some good things that, that our manufacturers and our integrators can really learn, but also, our end users, and not just see this as it's just something you got to do, but to really take it seriously.
So here's something I've heard from certainly integrators and sometimes manufacturers. Well, more integrators. I don't even respond to an RFP because they're going to go with the lowest bid, and I'm not going there.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. And that's a shame. And I'm not going to lie. There are schools, there are institutions and businesses that is it. They're just wanting to see what what the lowest number is. I'm thankful. I've never been part of an organization that worked that way. And we look at this as I like to say as best value, right? Is pricing part of it? Absolutely. And as you kind of go through the articles, you'll see, things are worth different percentages, and pricing is part of the total package. But hopefully, if done right, we see the value in what we're going to bring. And I even think as higher ed, right? I'm going to speak to the vertical. We don't get very often the opportunity to do these big campus-wide upgrades or even large projects, right? These $1 million projects don't come by our desks every day. So if I'm going to do this, I have to be able to kind of take it seriously and go, okay, what is going to be best for me over the total life of what I'm putting in? And that's not just, one summer to the next summer. This could be 5, 7, some schools 10 years down the road. And so, the dollars and cents only make sense when the whole package is there. Mm-hmm. Are the technologies aligning with the vision of the school? Are the technologies and the partners we're building going to be the ones that I can trust 2 years from now when things start going south? Are they going to answer my calls, right? And if you are kind of doing the fly-by-nights and I'm only going to look at the final dollar, you're not doing justice to yourself. And you're also not doing justice to the integrators and the great manufacturer partners that you might have an opportunity to work with, right? So absolutely.
So, all right. You started the RFP process in January. You were able to write this up. When have you decided on have you done your final judging?
We've done everything. Our pilot is actually just completed. People who are kind of listening to this and watching this, we've actually gone through the process. We've already got it all installed. Our pilot is done, and we've launched classes already. So, and tell you that's part of it, doing it right. One of the things we'll say is things take so long, and you kind of read through and you'll see I do spend a lot of time early, right, and getting all the kind of ducks in a row, so that when you actually kind of pull the trigger on it, things can move because everything's been documented. Everything's been outlined. Expectations are set and they're clear. Everybody is open and transparent. And so it actually made our install extremely smooth. It was interesting. I'll tell you a little funny story that actually happened today. Of course, people watching this is not today. But I was in a meeting with a bunch of colleagues through the Big Ten and said, how was your summers going? I said, what was interesting is how smooth it actually went. Everybody else is freaking out. I said, no, our process started 6 months, 8 months, 9 months ago now, right, is where it all started so that it could be smooth. And I think that's, again, I just wrote this, but that would be another thing I could add in there to say, trust the process, even if it doesn't make sense. And especially as tech managers, right? A lot of things happen above us. The budgets happen above us. The main decisions happen to us, all these things. But the process works if you really work with your procurement team. And that's who I want to say a lot of kudos to, is just having an incredible procurement team and incredible leadership who make sure, because everyone knows patience is not my virtue. I may go get it. But by saying, hey, let's do the time, let's do it right. Let's make sure it's fair, it's transparent, it's open. And we set the guidelines of what we're looking for. It's amazing how it all came together.
That's exciting. And wow. I know that folks listening to this and reading the articles, which by the way, it is a series of articles because they're not short. So over the course of a week, I'm going to publish an article a day, and starting with, you'll be seeing one today when I publish this, and then one every day after that for the week. And all together, you're going to get a really great overview of that, creating the RFP through to the conclusion and the installation. So just quickly, best practices.
Best practices, I will say, come down to this, is take it seriously, right? Every question matters. everything that you do matters, right? And I would say, if I had to kind of summarize a part of it, is you could tell who took it seriously. And I think that's really, whether it was just, hey, this question, they don't really mean it. This, you could, some questions, I know I learned how to speak English once. Don't worry, I'll get an answer out here. Sometimes people think, oh, this is just a boilerplate question and it doesn't matter. But if you're taking things based on points, every question matters, right? And so sitting there and saying, okay, what is this actually asking? And answer it, and I'll give a good example of something, if the question, which is like we did, said, give me 3 examples, but you only listed 2 examples, even if they're great examples, could one of those judges still see that as they didn't answer the question, 0 points? Right? And again, but maybe another judge might go, well, okay, it was decent. I got 2 things. I got 2 out of 3. I'll give you 3 of 5 points. Right. And so you're leaving things on the table. And also, so that's from that point of view of responding. But from, say, a tech manager's point of view, a best practice is to outline and document what it is you're actually looking for and your non-negotiables. What are the things at the end of this project I want to have where I can go to my boss, I can sleep well at night, I can know these are the deliverables, and make sure that those are the things you're looking for. Put everything out. And then there's other things that, that are important. What am I second tier? Assuming, 5 out of the 10 respondees can do my top, then I'm going to drop down to there. And so I think having those ahead of time really helps. And it requires stepping away from the technology solution. When we did ours, we were looking for a cloud-first solution. We were looking for kind of what we're going to everyone knows me. I'm a bleeding edge person. I was looking for something done, which is why it worked great to do something completely public and open and go, here's what we were looking for. Who can deliver it? And that really made it competitive. And it gave us that opportunity to look completely agnostic to it, I guess, and not going in, oh, we're an XYZ campus, so therefore I'm going to pick XYZ technology, right? And I think that's one of the things that really both sides could learn from, is really look at it as an opportunity. And I know it takes time to do, and it takes a lot of effort, but I will say this, the ones who won, and I'm not going to give it away here, those will all come out later. But I say the ones who did best, even not even one, the ones who did best, you could tell their intentionality. They said, you could tell, like, I want to win this. And also, I think that from our actual proposal that we put out, how many questions we asked, the detail of the questions, what was important to us. We knew we wanted one opportunity to get these answers. And so we put it out there. And so I think it kind of went 2 ways. And I'm extremely excited about what we've been able to do, because both parties came to the table and said, all right, we see it. And that was one of the takeaways that I got as well in talking to, even just all the kind of finalists, is they all said, we appreciate how much you even asked. We could see your vision. We could see how, we even held like a webinar after, which it's in one of the articles. We held a webinar to say, look, you got the piece of paper sent to you that has, 49 questions or 40, whatever it is. But now let me actually explain the vision, where we're coming from, what the budget is, realistic budget that we're looking at, our time frame, and I laid it all out. And everybody said, I've never, ever had a customer do that for us.
Nice.
And so I thought that was great. And, and again, it's kudos to strong procurement departments that really take this seriously.
Any surprises?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. A lot. Surprises. That's a good question. I would say less surprise and more learning myself, right? Because I think even quite often it is the RFP process is quite often all right, I need this until I can actually get to the part I want to do. And I think that my surprise was saying, wow, if you actually trust the process, it works. If you put all these in a row, it works. And the proof was in the pudding at the end. It can also be scary too, right? If you're open to, like, I think this way, recusing myself meant I had to trust that my team was going to do the right things. I had to trust that, because I'm sitting, I know all, look, in the industry, I know all the dark secrets of all these organizations. I know where they're doing, I know who these people are. I know when they've, right. I talk to peers, but stepping back and going, you know what? The process needs to work and I'm going to trust it. And so I shouldn't say it was a surprise that it worked, because that's the idea of a good process, that it works, but it was more confirmation that I would never do it any way otherwise moving forward. Taking the time to line it up, get all the right stakeholders, get all the right buy-in, get the right people to evaluate, and make sure that the those who respond actually understand the importance that this isn't also for them just a waste of time. There can only be, a one winner, but we're going to take your responses seriously, and we're going to give everybody an equal opportunity. And it's all in how you present, and that's what we're going to judge by. So it was more of that confirmation.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to add one other best practice. Whether you've never created an RFP or starting a new one, or have done 1,000 of them, read this series of articles from Joe, because they're really insightful. And you can there's always takeaway out of something, even if you've done it 1,000 times yourself before. Joe, I can't thank you enough, one, for your time in creating this series for us, and the time to chat here today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Thanks so much.